In this video, you will master async await in JavaScript. I will show you what it is, why it's better than promises, and how to use it in your projects. Before we start, I created a video on promises before, so if you want, you can watch that video too if you don't know what promises are. So what is async await? It's a modern way to handle asynchronous code in JavaScript. Remember promises with all those then and catch chains? Async await makes that code look way cleaner and easier to read. Think of it like this: instead of saying do this, then do that, then do that, you can write code that looks synchronous, like normal step-by-step instructions, but it's still asynchronous under the hood. And the best part, async await is just syntactic sugar over promises. That means it's built on top of promises, so you are still using promises just in a cleaner way. Now let me show you the syntax. First, let's understand the async keyword. When you put async before a function, that function automatically returns a promise. Let me show you what I mean. I will create a simple function called greet. I will type async function greet. Inside, I will just return a string hello. Now this looks like a normal function, right? But because we put async in front, this function actually returns a promise. Let me prove it. I will call greet function and use then to see the result. See that even though we just return a string, it gets wrapped in a promise automatically. So when we call greet function, we can use then because it returns a promise. You can also write async functions as arrow functions. Let me show you. I will type const greet equals async and then the arrow function syntax. Both ways work exactly the same. Now let's talk about the await keyword. The await keyword can only be used inside async functions. What it does is pause the function execution until the promise resolves. This makes your code wait for the result before moving to the next line. Let me create a function that returns a promise with a delay. I will call it getUser. Inside, I will return a new promise. This promise will use setTimeout to wait 2 seconds before resolving. So this simulates fetching user data from a server. It takes 2 seconds and then gives us a user object with name and age. Now here's the old way with promises. I will call getUser and use then to get the result. This works, but look at all that then stuff. Now let me show you the async await way. I will create an async function called displayUser. Inside, I will type const user equals await getUser. The await keyword here makes the function pause and wait for getUser to finish. Now, once we have the user, I can just use it on the next line. I will type console.log user.name. And to run it, I just call the function. Look how clean that is. No then, no callbacks, just straightforward code. It reads like getUser, then log the name, much easier to understand. Now let's talk about handling errors. With promises, we use catch, but with async await, we use try-catch blocks, which you might already be familiar with. Let me create a function that might fail. I will call it fetchData. It takes an ID parameter and returns a promise. Inside the setTimeout, I will add logic. If the ID is greater than 0, I will resolve with some data. Otherwise, I will reject with an error message. Now let me create an async function to use this. I will call it getData. First, I will type try and open curly braces. This is where we put code that might fail. Inside the try block, I'll await the fetch data call. Let me type const result equals await fetch data 5. Then I will log the result. Now I need to add the catch block. This catches any errors that happen in the try block. I will type catch with error as the parameter. And let's call it. This will work fine and log the result. But if I change the ID to -1, it will fail and the catch block will run logging error invalid ID. You can also add a finally block if you want to run code regardless of success or failure. Let me add it. I will type finally and inside I will log a message. The finally block always runs whether the try succeeds or the catch catches an error. This is useful for cleanup code. One of the best things about async await is handling multiple async operations. Let me show you. I will create two simple functions. First one is getUser. And the second one is getPost, which takes a username. Now let me create an async function called displayUserPost. Inside, I will await both operations one by one. First, I will get the user. I will type const user equals await get user. This waits 1 second and gives us the user. Then I will log the username. Now I will get the post using that username. Type const post equal await get post user.name. This waits another second. And finally, I will log the post. See how readable this is? It's like reading a story. Get user, show username, get post, show post. Each line waits for the previous one to finish. This takes 2 seconds total because they run one after another. But what if you want to run multiple promises at the same time? You can use promise.all with async await. Let me show you quickly. This runs both promises at the same time and waits for both to finish much faster. Let me show you a practical example. Imagine you are building a weather app. You need to get the user's location first, then fetch weather data for that location. I will create a function called getLocation. It returns a promise that resolves with coordinates after 1 second. Now I will create getWeather, which takes coordinates and returns weather data. Now here's the async function that brings it all together. I will call it displayWeather. Inside the try block, first I will get the location, type const location equals await get location, then I will log it. Now I will use those coordinates to get weather, type const weather equals await get weather, and I will pass location dot latitude and location dot longitude. Finally, I will log the weather data, type console.log, and I will use a template string to make it nice. Perfect. This will wait for location, then fetch weather, then display it. Clean, readable, and easy to understand. This is exactly how you would work with real APIs like fetch. Let me quickly show you two common mistakes. First mistake, forgetting the async keyword. If you try to use await in a regular function, it won't work. You must put async before the function. Second mistake, not handling errors. If you don't use try catch, errors will crash your program. Always wrap your await calls in try catch when there's a chance of failure. This keeps your app running smoothly even when things go wrong. And that's it. You now know what async await is, how to use the async and await keywords, how to handle errors with try catch, how to chain multiple async operations, and how to use it in real projects. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.